believe you've been working on a book just recently. It's a new one of your new reports, and it's called Heart Disease and Cholesterol. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Mr. Bollinger?
Sure, Steve. Actually, one of my latest little bonus reports that I've written is on heart disease and cholesterol and the relationship between the two. And very much like the cancer industry, where the cancer industry likes to treat symptoms of cancer but not the root cause, such as tumors. We love to treat tumors where tumors are not the cause of the cancer. The same thing applies to the heart disease industry, the surgeries, the drugs, the statin drugs that go on with heart disease, because the bottom line is that cholesterol is merely a symptom of heart disease, but it is not a cause. So when your doctor tells you that you need to lower your cholesterol because you are at high risk of heart disease, he is believing one of the common fallacies today, that cholesterol causes heart disease. When the fact of the matter is that cholesterol is a result of having some other internal problems that can lead to heart disease, but cholesterol is not the cause of heart disease. And why would doctors be treating a symptom rather than the cause? Well, it's very profitable. Statin drugs are a very profitable drugs to lower your cholesterol. As a matter of fact, the top 1 and 2 prescription drugs in the United States in 2009 are both statin drugs to lower your cholesterol.
That's just but one of the bonus reports that you've got there. You've also got a swine flu update. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, I thought that this was an appropriate time to release an update on the swine flu and the vaccines that are coming to treat the swine flu. Basically, getting into whether this is a real pandemic threat, or is this more of a beta test release, or is it nothing to worry about at all? The bottom line is that there's pretty much of a consensus among those that are awake to what's going on, that this is not a naturally occurring flu. It's part bird flu, part human flu, part swine flu. This was most definitely created in a lab, and my opinion is that it was created to scare people into getting the vaccine, which is a very expensive vaccine, and we have stockpiled hundreds of millions of doses of the vaccine, and so we need an event to scare people into getting jabbed now. And so now this swine flu, which in most cases is much less deadly than even your typical normal flu, is now scaring people into going and standing in line and getting jabbed with the swine flu vaccine, when in reality the vaccine is much more to be feared than the actual swine flu itself, due in large part to the content of the squalene, which is a preservative and has been linked to Gulf War syndrome, and also due to the content of the mercury, the thimerosal, which is it's a preservative as well. It's also a heavy metal. So because of the fact that the swine flu vaccine contains both heavy metal and squalene, which is basically can cause your immune system to turn on itself and can create what's called a cytokine storm, which will basically make your immune system attacks your own body, and you basically kill your immune system kills you in a cytokine storm. The squalene in these vaccines has been known to cause cytokine storms, and so in my opinion the vaccine is much more deadly than the swine flu is. So the latest special report kind of deals with some of the issues surrounding swine flu, which is it's not going away anytime soon. So I think it's good for people to be educated on the swine flu and to make good choices for them and their family. I mean, the main reason that I'm doing this is not to make a lot of money. I'm doing this to get the word out, to spread the word. I want to help people to be empowered with knowledge. I want my flagship product is my book, Cancer Step Outside the Box, and it's a best-selling book on Amazon. But I've also written several bonus books, the swine flu special report. I've got the cholesterol and heart disease special report. The bottom line is just to get this information available to people so that they can be empowered with knowledge and make good decisions for themselves concerning cancer, heart disease, and a whole host of other issues today.
You've done some fantastic work, Mr. Bollinger. You've saved a lot of lives with your book. It's Cancer Step Outside the Box. Can you just tell the people here listening a little bit more about it?
Sure, Steve. I mean, the whole purpose of the book is to arm people with information so that they can make wise choices when they're diagnosed with cancer. I mean, in light of the fact that up to half of us will soon be diagnosed with cancer, the predictions are that by 2020, 1 in 2 people worldwide will be diagnosed with cancer. So it's pretty likely that either you or somebody that you love is going to be diagnosed with cancer. You want to be armed with information because knowledge and information is power when it comes to something as serious as cancer. And so the whole purpose of the book is to arm people with information, because the fact that cancer does not have to be a death sentence. Despite what you're told, despite what your traditional oncologist might tell you, cancer does not have to be a death sentence. There are effective natural treatments that cure cancer. And so the whole purpose of the book is to get that information into the hands of as many people as possible so they can make a good decision when they or a loved one is diagnosed with cancer.
So really, learning about this now could benefit your family in the future, your future family.
Oh, absolutely, Steve. I firmly believe that had I had this knowledge when either my mother or father were diagnosed, that they both would be alive today and still with me. The fact of the matter is I didn't know this. They didn't know this. This knowledge is not that readily available even today. And so that was my goal, to get this knowledge in the hands of as many people as possible, because when you're diagnosed, the last thing that you have is time to go research cancer treatments. What you're going to do is typically you're going to go to your doctor, and your doctor's going to say, well, you need to do chemo and radiation, and I don't know if it'll work, but that's our best bet. Well, the bottom line is that's not acceptable to me, because chemotherapy has less than a 3% cure rate. And so that's not a good treatment option as far as I'm concerned. So again, the purpose of this book is to arm people with knowledge so that when they are diagnosed or loved ones diagnosed, you don't have time to go research yourself. I've spent close to 10,000 hours over the past 14 years researching cancer and cancer treatments. It's all in one book. All you got to do is go read the book, arm yourself with information, and then when the diagnosis comes, you know what to do. Because cancer does not have to be a death sentence. That's the bottom line.
And of course, the doctor is going to recommend that there's no other option than to go down the path of $18,000 per operation, and to put you through pain and misery of having yourself, with chemotherapy, putting drugs in your veins, giving you radiation treatments, and all kinds of quackery. I mean, that really seems like the strangest thing for somebody to do, to knock their immune system down when they would be needing it, right?
Absolutely. That's the craziest thing that you could possibly do, is to go treat a virus, a disease like cancer, with a treatment that compromises your immune system, because cancer is a disease that is a result of a compromised immune system. So how can you treat a disease that's a result of a compromised immune system with a drug like chemotherapy that further compromises your immune system? It makes no logical sense. Now, a doctor may prescribe that to you, but as I mentioned earlier, the oncologists that know what's going on with this cancer racket, the medical mafia, I like to call them, they won't prescribe chemotherapy to themselves or a loved one. They know what's going on. So it's the most popular treatment protocol for those people that are basically what I would refer to as the sheeple that don't know any better. And it's not necessarily their fault. It's just that's the information that's out there. But the bottom line is that cancer does not have to be a death sentence. There are treatments out there that work, and the reason that the treatments are prescribed by the oncologists that are prescribed currently, the chemo and the radiation, is because they are the most profitable. You mentioned $18,000 for a radiation, for a surgery. I've spoken recently to a couple fellows that had a special kind of chemotherapy that they had been using, an experimental chemotherapy that, by the way, never worked. But it was $50,000 per injection. $50,000 per injection. So if you look at that and you compare that to the cost of treating cancer with aloe vera or asparagus or eggplant, you know which way that the medical mafia is going to go with the big pharmaceutical ties, don't you? They're going to go with the drugs that cost $50,000 per injection, and they're going to say that the natural cures, the aloe veras, the asparagus, the oxygen therapies, the hydrogen peroxides, and those kind of natural therapies are all quackery. When the reality is that conventional cancer treatments are quackery. As a matter of fact, there's a statistic that I've quoted recently. It was from the Department of Radiation Oncology down in Australia, in Sydney. They did a study back about 3 or 4 years ago on the 5-year effectiveness of chemotherapy on treating cancers, and the effectiveness of chemotherapy was 2.1% in Australia and 2.3% in the United States. That's a shocking statistic. Since I had been quoting these statistics the last few years, I've been using a 3% cure rate for chemotherapy, but the reality is that was actually a little bit too high. It's actually just barely over 2% that chemotherapy cures. Not an acceptable percentage for me or a loved one.